I'm going to talk about something called the James Webb Space Telescope and how that affects the Big Bang Theory. And that you may have heard that in the news. I'm sure you knew about the Hubble telescope from years ago. It's been replaced by a newer, bigger, better one that is called the James Webb Space Telescope. And the thing about it is that it gets much finer pictures and it can look much, much farther into the distance. And just recently, what happened with this telescope is that they got the first images from it. And the first images, they were looking far, far out into space, and they found a whole bunch of surprising things that really affect the Big Bang Theory and its predictions. So we're going to look at that. So the James Webb Telescope can test a lot of predictions that couldn't be tested before. And the problem with the Big Bang Theory, there were problems with the Big Bang Theory already. People knew about these, but a lot of people were ignoring them. Even with the Hubble telescope, it was possible to see that some of the things that the Big Bang Theory predicted just weren't what we see in the universe. And so that's what you do with science is you, when you have a good theory, the theory predicts things that you should be able to measure and see if they're true. And long ago, the Big Bang Theory, when it came out, made a bunch of predictions, but at that time it wasn't possible to test those predictions. And with the Hubble, it was possible to test some of those predictions, and most of them were found to be wrong. Out of 11 that you could test at that time, 10 of them were found to be wrong and not even close, far away wrong. So now we have the James Webb telescope, which can look further out into space, and it has found a bunch of other things, and those things it has found are wrong too. And so what the theory said is that the whole idea behind the Big Bang Theory is that from a single point in space, everything expanded out and became the universe that we know. And so first of all, it was just hot matter, loose atoms running around, and then those clumped into larger molecules, and those clumped into bodies like planets and things like that. And eventually suns and stars and galaxies were all formed out of that. And so that's the Big Bang Theory. And so basically the idea is that matter formed first, and then that clumped into smaller bodies and then larger bodies. And another part of that theory, well, or not that theory necessarily, but science generally, is that when you look at far away things, you're actually looking back in history because it takes time for light to get to us. And so if you're seeing the light from a star that is 32 million years away as far as light time travel, then you are seeing how it was 32 million years ago. And so that's what you're doing with this James Webb telescope, is when you look far, far away, you're able to look, in theory, you're able to look back at when things were younger. And so you should be able to see far away galaxies and far away things which would be in a much younger stage. So that's one of the predictions of the Big Bang Theory, is that the farther away you look, the younger everything in the universe should be. And you can tell the age of things because stars and galaxies both age in certain ways that can be observed even from where we are. And so a young star, it looks a certain way, and as it ages, and depending on its size, it ages in different ways, but they can tell that. And so you can tell how old stars and galaxies are in their age. And so one of the predictions that comes out of the Big Bang Theory is that with the James Webb Telescope being able to look so far away, we should be able to see galaxies at a very young age. And in fact, you wouldn't even see that many galaxies because they shouldn't have even formed by that time. You should see fewer galaxies, and what you should see is more very young stars just hanging around or being born. And that's what they expected to see. But the James Webb Telescope didn't see that at all. It looked farther out into space than any other previous telescope. And what it found was stars and galaxies that are just as old as the ones near us. And that's a real problem. That really throws the Big Bang Theory into a problem. And on top of that, it found too many galaxies. As I said, the predictions of that theory are that you shouldn't see many galaxies because there wouldn't have been enough time to form them. So that's what James Webb saw. It saw stars and galaxies that were just as old as the ones that are right near us. So there was no evidence of any aging. And it found too many galaxies. And it also found some other predictions that were wrong, but I'm not going to go into the details of those. So that has really set up a big problem in the science of galactical sciences. And there's a lot of people who are starting to, and big name scientists who are starting to say and admit that the Big Bang Theory is wrong. Its predictions are just so far out that can't be resolved with any of the information that we now have from the James Webb Telescope. And it really was in that state before, but not so many people were willing to accept it, even though its predictions had been wrong, even in the time of Hubble. And as you would imagine, there are still people who are clinging to that Big Bang theory. And part of the reason for that is that they have no other theory. And well, they have one other theory. That's the theory that God created the universe, but they don't want to accept that one. And so what they have now is the Big Bang theory is effectively dead. Some people are clinging to it. Some people have admitted that no, it's just wrong. We need to come up with something different. And so it sort of makes scientists a little bit embarrassed all on top of it, because they've been selling this Big Bang theory for about 80 years now. And here we are, proof that it's completely wrong. And this same clinging on that you'll see here with the Big Bang theory is still happening with evolution. Evolution was proved wrong, 30 or 40 years ago, and it's only gotten worse as we've learned more and more about genetics. And so as our understanding of genetics has increased, it showed that the things that evolution predicted couldn't happen. And things like you just can't get evolution in species to happen, and that's because of the way the genetics are set up. And yet there are still some scientists who cling to it, and a lot of them are clinging to it just because they want to have a theory, and that's the only theory they have, even though the theory has been proven that it can't work. And so I think that's something for us to always remember, is that most scientists do their best, but they come from a framework of generally not accepting God. There are some scientists that do accept God, but most scientists don't. And so we always need to temper that information that they give us. And even though they might say, well, the universe is so many billions of years old, we say, yeah, that's what you think, but we know that science makes mistakes, and this is probably just one of them. And so that's our situation here, is that the Big Bang theory is really effectively dead now, and more people are accepting that, but they have no idea of how to replace it. There are some smaller theories that some people are advocating, and also some people are trying to patch the Big Bang theory and try to find ways to change it, to make it work. And they did that once before, when they found out some earlier problems with it. They created an idea called inflation that kind of made the universe grow really fast for a short period of time, and then it slowed down to a normal growth rate, which was always very suspect anyway. And so Big Bang theory has had problems in the past, and now this is the one that really should put the end to it, and people should start giving up on it. And I'm sure that they'll come up with something to replace that eventually. But that hasn't happened with evolution yet. They're still stuck on evolution having no theory. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say on that news item, current event item.